Hi everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb, a video for March of 2015. What we've got going on this month is hopefully some warmer weather. We'll see. We've got the spring equinox. We've got, let's see, also some good views of Venus and Jupiter and Saturn, depending on what time you are actually awake. So what I want to do is just talk about the planets you can see in different parts of the sky, and then go through the month to see where the moon is at, or where the moon is and in relation to the other planets, and then also talk about constellations at the end. So if we just look off in the west, I set up the date for March 15th, and if we look to the west, mid-March is a good time to look at. You'll see the sun start to set, and immediately you will see Venus and Mars off in the west. Now, Venus is going to be higher than Mars. Venus is also going to be brighter than Mars. But you can see them after the sun sets. Just some quick notes. Venus is making its way up the sky. Every night it's getting higher and higher in the sky, as you see as I move forward. Let's go back to the 15th. And Mars is kind of dipping down. You're not going to be able to see it much longer. Now, Venus is high in the sky. It's in the west after sunset. It'll be the first one that you see. If you have binoculars or a telescope, you can actually see its gibbous shape. You can just sort of tell one side is a little oblong. And it is going to be close to the moon on the 22nd. I'll talk about that later. Mars is in the west after sunset. You look for the visibly red star. It's hanging out below Venus. Now, it won't last long, though. But it will be close to the moon on the 21st. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's take a look. On the 21st, Mars and the moon are going to be very close to each other. The problem is that the moon's going to be very, very thin, okay, on the 21st, and Mars is dim as well. But it'll be easier if you go out the next night on the 22nd. You'll be able to see the moon close to Venus. It'll be a little further away than it was to Mars, but the moon will be thicker, so that'll be easier to see. And Venus is just brighter in general, so that's going to be easy to see. So March 21st and 22nd is a good time to look at Mars and Venus, if only because of how close they are all together. So around sunset, you can look for that in the west. Also, you can see Jupiter this month. So if you go to almost the opposite side of the sky, right around sunset, let's rewind, it's around sunset, Jupiter's going to be up in the southeast, very high in the southeast. It's over up here by the Beehive cluster, which is in Cancer, the dim constellation of Cancer. And what you'll see as the night goes by, let's see if we can get this in range here. As the night goes by, see time's moving forward, Jupiter's going to go to the south, and then it's going to start sinking and go toward the west, until, well, let's say about 4 or 5 a.m., somewhere around there is when it's going to set. So you won't be able to see Jupiter in the morning, but it is out all night. So let's rewind a little bit, and that's all you'll see at night. But in the morning, you can see Saturn. Now, Saturn rises in the southeast. Let's go back to the 15th of March. Okay. Saturn will rise about 1:30 in the morning, and somewhere around 2 a.m. at the beginning of the month, and then at the end of the month, it'll be about midnight when it rises. But Saturn's going to be up here in Scorpius. You can see it right up here. This is Scorpius's head, I guess you could say, and Saturn's up there. It's going to be much brighter than the stars around it, and it's going to keep rising, and it'll be close to the moon on the 12th. So if you go to March 12th, you'll see that Saturn and the moon are right close by. You'll see a slightly gibbous moon, and Saturn will be right here, right next to another bright star, New Scorpii, right over there. So that'll be pretty cool to take a look at. But if you want to find Saturn, you got to get out after midnight, maybe even after 2 a.m., depending on when you're going out. And those are the planets that you can see. So we've got, let's rewind the tape. We've got Saturn in the early morning in the southeast. We've got Jupiter throughout the night, but starting in the southeast. And you've got Venus and Mars over in the west, right around sunset. All right, so those are the planets that you can see. Let's scroll back. Let's go to March 5th. March 5th is when you will see a full moon. Full moon, it's visible all night. You'll see it's nice and completely illuminated. And that's going to be up all night. It's going to be in between Leo and Virgo. And it actually sets right around sunrise. Now, if we go back a couple days to March 3rd, you'll see that the moon and Jupiter are pretty close to each other. Right? And let's see, so that's 3rd. Okay? And the 6th, we got the full moon. And the moon's going to move across the sky, and it's going to reach Saturn on the 12th, like we said. And at that point, the moon is mostly gibbous, and it's not going to be up above the horizon until like 1:30 a.m. Okay? And then on the 13th is when you actually have the 3rd quarter moon, where the moon is precisely half lit up, the left half, if you will. And that doesn't rise until right around 2 a.m. or midnight. And anyway, so that's the last quarter moon. And what's going to happen is the moon is going to move away from Saturn. It's going to get thinner and thinner and thinner until it's right about where the sun is. And in fact, on the 20th, let's go to sunset on the 20th. Let's go to the west. And the 20th is actually the new moon. Now, it is a solar eclipse. There is a total solar eclipse, but not for anywhere where I live. Now, it's really, the path of totality is limited to the North Atlantic and the Arctic Oceans and between Greenland and northern Russia. So there's really not much to see unless you live in that very cold part of the world. But the 20th is also the spring equinox. That's the astronomical first day of spring. It's just a coincidence that there's a new moon. They have nothing to do with each other. But astronomically, it's the first day of spring, 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night, everywhere on Earth. Just about. There's a couple minutes difference there. But meteorologically, I always mess that up. Meteorologically, spring actually starts at the beginning of March, though it doesn't feel like it. It goes from March, April, and May. And at the end of May is when summer meteorologically starts. But anyway, and then on the 21st, like I said, the moon will be very close to Mars. And then on the 22nd, the moon will be thicker in its crescent phase and closer to Venus. And yeah, actually nothing really happens until the the 27th. See, the moon gets higher and higher in the sky. And then on the 27th, you'll see that it's high in the sky and the right half is lit up. That is the first quarter phase. And you can see that moon phase as I while the hours away on starry night until about 2 a.m. Now this is using daylight savings time. So that's why there's a slight difference there. But until 2 a.m. you can see it. And you'll still see Jupiter up there as well. Now if we're going to talk about constellations, okay, let's go back to March 15th, and let's look straight up at the zenith, and let's go to, oh, I don't know, sunset, okay? So if it's sunset, and we let time go by, just a little bit after sunset, you'll see Auriga and Gemini way up high in the sky. If we go between sunset and midnight, let's say 10 o'clock, you'll be able to see Cancer and Jupiter, pretty much straight above you. You still see Gemini, and yeah, Lynx is here too, minor constellation. And later in the month you'll see Leo right up above you as well. Now if you go all the way to midnight, you'll see Leo, you can see Leo Minor, and you can see Ursa Major's legs. Most people just look at the Big Dipper as Ursa Major, but that's just the tail and the butt of the Big Bear. You actually have the legs there as well. And then if you wait until early morning, you'll be able to see Corona Borealis way up there. This is that U shape here. You'll see the Kite constellation known as Bootes with its bright star Arcturus. And then you'll see the Hercules with the keystone right here. And if you want to find these, you can find Arcturus, the brightest star in Bootes, by taking the arc that the handle of the Big Dipper makes. Follow that arc 20 degrees. That's 2 fist widths. If you hold your fist at arm's length, that's 10 degrees. 2 of those, and you'll find Arcturus. Hence the astronomer's phrase, follow the arc to Arcturus. Otherwise, if you just look throughout the night at the south, basically what you're looking at the entire sky, Orion's still pretty much up there. You've got Canis Major down here with the brightest star Sirius. You've got Cancer is a fun one to look at, although it's dim, very, very dim, but you can find Jupiter in there, and the Beehive cluster, M44, is in there. I would also encourage you to look at Leo, just because it's a really neat constellation to find. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop there for the constellations, and yeah, keep looking for Orion, try to find Venus and Mars, and I'd like to wish you very clear, dark skies for the month of March.